What up, Blockchain Nation? What up, YouTube? Thank you for taking time to watch this video. And if you've ever wondered or you're wondering about what's going on in the world, what's the fuss about the new Chinese digital currency, some might call it a cryptocurrency, but we'll address that later on. But let's just call it the Chinese digital currency, the DCEP. This video I tried to explain, talk about 10 things you should know about China's new cryptocurrency. Once again, I don't give financial advice. I'm not asking you to invest, to buy, not to buy. I'm just giving you my personal opinions and things that I have realized or I've learned along the way. So, 10 things about China's cryptocurrency. So, it's called DCEP. I just opened this right up. So I'm looking at this. I found this online, the Daily Huddle, news and insights for the digital economy. Anyway, it's called DCEP. So I need a definition. So DCEP is a digital currency electronic payment. DCEP is aka also known as digital currency electronic payment, is a central bank digital currency, CBDC. It's led by the People's Bank of China. The plan is part of the response to President Xi to push to seize the opportunity of blockchain technology. So the digital one is structured on a two-tier monetary system, which means that it's going to be issued in along two ways. First, the central bank will issue the CBDC to commercial banks, and then the commercial banks will now issue the CBDC focused to the public. So by CBDC, I mean the central bank digital currency, also going to be called, which is called DCEP, which is the digital currency and electronic payment. So basically, in China is a digital economy. Most of money that is spent is a cashless society. So you find out that for the most part, transactions are done mainly through WeChat and also through Alipay. So they are, I would say, 90% or over 90% of transactions are done that way. So already you have an economy whereby it's a cashless society. But now China is taking it a step further by coming up with its own concept or with its own supposed to be cryptocurrency, because they're using some features about blockchain. So they say, but I think that this will address that. So they are foreigners in this, in initiating their own digital currency. So here is what you should know about China. So in China, they spend renminbi. So basically, their Chinese money comes in two names. We have the Chinese yuan, and then we have the renminbi. So the yuan is basically a unit of account for the country's economic and financial system, while the renminbi is official currency of China, which is basically medium of exchange. So in China, you hear people use those words synonymously. You hear the Chinese yuan, or you hear the renminbi. Well, renminbi is actually what is really spent, but the country's economic financial system is measured using the yuan. That's what you should know that. Anyways, so 10 things that you should know. The first thing that you should know, well, basically got it from here, but you can take your time to read through all this, and you realize that this is actually a good resource or good something that you should read through. But I'll just highlight the 10 things. First thing is that development began in 2014 by a research team funded by the People's Bank of China. So 2014 was when they led the efforts to start their own digital currency. Their own digital currency in China. You should also know that there are plans to launch this by the next Olympics in 2020, so they're rapidly accelerating or going through this process. Second thing you should know is that the effort to launch was also accelerated after Facebook launched Libra. So when Facebook launched Libra, that's when the Chinese government said, hey, we have to take this a step further. We have to roll this out as fast as possible, because, I mean, Facebook has a plan to roll out Libra all across the world, to Africa, to other countries, using WhatsApp. And it's interesting, like I said before, that in China, most transactions are done through WeChat, which is kind of like WhatsApp. So the fact that Facebook is coming up with Libra, it's more of an incentive, should I say, for China to accelerate their products, their process in launching out their own digital currency as well. So, like I said, 90% of electronic payments, this is the third point, in China are done through WeChat and Alipay, which is huge, which kind of makes Facebook a threat. And I don't think China will allow Facebook to launch in China. I don't think so. Anyways, so fourth thing you should know is that China will quickly integrate DCEP into several blockchain projects, which may give them a first mover advantage. There's something about being the first to do something. Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency, which is why it's the most popular. So for China to come out and be the first country to come out with its own, to launch its own digital monetary system that's supposed to be crypto-like, it's going to be a huge thing for China, in my personal opinion. Something you should also know is that transactions can be done offline using NFC or near field communication. That's so cool. So all that means is that it's a feature in your cell phones. So if you can bring two cell phones using NFC, near field communications, you can actually transfer funds or transfer the DCEP from one phone to another, even if they don't have any online, if they're not online or they don't have any internet access, which is really cool. That's something that's a huge win for it as well. Sixth thing is that the ABC, or the Agricultural Bank of China, has already developed a trial interface, which is huge. As of this recording, an interface has been built by ABC just to test how this works, how you can transfer renminbi to DCEP and backwards, and also from DCEP to renminbi. So once DCEP is transferred into renminbi, that DCEP is automatically destroyed, which is a cool feature. Seventh thing to know is that use of other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are illegal in China. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are illegal in China. The argument is because of their speculative in nature. Sometime in 2017, when so many people were buying Bitcoin and the price was going up, China frowns against speculation, so that was one of the reasons why they banned cryptocurrencies, arguably, in China. But you can actually mine for Bitcoin, but you just can't buy and sell, which it's interesting. Eighth thing to know is that the European Commercial Bank has taken a more proactive approach when it comes to the study of having a blockchain-backed euro. So China is leading the charge. But also know that this was also an incentive or initiative that was launched by the European Central Bank, charged by Christian Lagarde, who is a big proponent of cryptocurrencies as well. But they are kind of behind the curve because China is at the forefront of this. But just something to note. 9, we can also imagine that the launch of the DCEP will broaden society's acceptance of blockchain technology and diminish people's prejudice against it. So if you hear the fact that a country is actually considering a crypto asset or a cryptocurrency approach to its own nation's currency is a huge thing. It's a huge thing for blockchain. I think it's a win for blockchain. And next couple of years, I think it will really help people adopting other or major crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the likes, in my personal opinion. And lastly, something worth noting is that the US is behind the rest of the world. And so because the US is behind the rest of the world, with all that's going on with coronavirus and how a lot of effort is going into sorting that out, do you understand that governments, or the United States government or governments around the world, they're not technology firms. So I don't see how the central bank or the Federal Reserve will throw all its efforts behind developing its own cryptocurrency. I'm not sure how that will work in this part of the world. So my point is, I see a Federal Reserve or the Treasury partnering with a tech company eventually to launch a cryptocurrency. And being as Facebook is already leading the charge, it is a possibility that you might have Facebook saying, hey, we have the infrastructure, we've already laid it down, why don't you just join us and let's help to build out the United States cryptocurrency, which would be scary. Anyways, so those are the 10 things you should know about Libra. So here's what you should also know. Lastly, I'll say this, is that DCEP is not if you look at the qualities of a cryptocurrency, that granddaddy of it all being Bitcoin. Blockchain or Bitcoin or a blockchain-based cryptocurrency, or like Bitcoin, is open, is borderless, is censorship resistant, is decentralized, is publicly verifiable, and is neutral. DCEP doesn't have any of those qualities. It's not open. It will definitely be closely guarded or kept or monitored by the Chinese government. It's not borderless. I don't see DCEP being used outside China. It's not censorship resistant. If you say or do something that the Chinese government does not like, they can pull the plug on you. Same way it happened, well, this part of the world with WikiLeaks, where they couldn't do transactions through Visa and MasterCard. It is not decentralized. It's highly centralized, highly centralized, and it will be run by the Chinese government. It's not publicly verifiable. I don't see any public nodes that you can look at or see transaction history like how we have with Bitcoin, which is a public ledger. That's not the same with DCEP, and it's not neutral. Neutral means that it doesn't matter who you are, anyone can use Bitcoin, whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're poor, whether you're rich. I believe that because of DCEP being as it is centralized, it is not necessarily going to be neutral. So who knows what the long-term effect of this digital currency will be, but it's just exciting to think that the fact that a country which is arguably one of the largest economies in the world and still growing, China, is deciding to launch its own digital currency. The implications are outstanding. So let's see what happens. All right. So let me know what you think. Put your thoughts, put your comments. What do you think about DCEP? Do you think it's going to have mass adoption? Well, maybe not around the world. The concept of a digital currency will have. Do you think the concept of a digital currency will have mass adoption? Do you think other countries will follow suit, especially since the European Central Bank is considering doing the same thing? What do you think about Libra and Facebook? Let me hear your thoughts. So that's all I have. Till next time, I wish for you is that you learn more about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, because I believe that blockchain is changing and will change the world, and those who get involved early, in my personal opinion, will greatly impact the future. And if that's you, then let's go change the world.